Hello, hello. Welcome to the Coaxum Report. It is an honor and pleasure today to be joined with with two co-hosts, actually, with Mr. Anthony Weeks, and shortly we're going to have Carolyn Howell join us. And we're going to be talking about, the various best practices and big ideas, but we're going to add a couple more nuggets into this particular show. And so, Anthony, why don't you tell our listeners and viewers, what we're going to be doing on the show today?
Yeah, you know what? I'm blessed to be able to co-host alongside with you. Thank you so much for allowing us, myself and Carolyn, to be part of your show today. And
Absolutely.
you've been doing a phenomenal job. Thank you so much for a great job you've been doing.
Thank you.
I am right now in the Washington D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, DMV.
Okay.
And that's where, as you know, you head up our New York tri-state area, obviously, initiatives,
That's right.
and Carolyn, our colleague, heads up the DMV, the Washington, Maryland, Virginia area. And so I'm in the DMV, and the reason I'm here is because this week Carolyn was responsible for spearheading a couple of events,
Mhm.
and she basically we did the DC Chamber of Commerce, the Washington DC Chamber of Commerce golf tournament, and the Virgin Islands was represented in
All
a foursome
right.
in that golf tournament as well. And then also we participated in the reception, the DC Chamber of Commerce reception, in partnership with the Deputy Mayor's office
Awesome.
in hosting and welcoming members of delegates from the Select USA uh,
Yeah.
at that reception. And so I'm also here because it's my first Select USA. I've never been to a Select
Wait,
USA.
you've never been to a Select
No,
USA?
never been to Select USA. And for most people, and of course, you probably know a lot more than I do, Terry, because you used to be part of the federal government in your former capacity.
Right.
But for people, when you hear Select USA is the federal it's a summit that's put on, host by the federal government,
Hmm.
and what they do to help all states and local government in the area of economic
Yes,
development organizations.
absolutely. Yes,
They host this event under one roof, and they invite host countries, or I should invited countries, foreign countries,
that's
to
right.
look at investment opportunities throughout the United States. And so they get firsthand to be able to speak with, the heads of those economic development agencies. And
Hmm.
so Taiwan, which I am the de facto ambassador for, and when I say de facto, that would mean it means only the State Department can set up embassies and
That's
appoint
right. That's right.
ambassadors. But
Hmm.
but the Constitution, if you will, allows states to have the ability to have a representative is that's equivalent to an ambassador, but they're
That's
not
right.
called ambassadors; they're called economic envoy. So
Hmm.
I'm the economic envoy for Taiwan, for the U.S. Virgin Islands, with Taiwan and the Asian Pacific region.
Hmm.
So there's a couple of things in terms of me being here. Obviously, is to participate in the activities that Carolyn set up. She will be talking about that shortly.
Yes.
And I came up for my first Select USA event, and also to be able to facilitate and connect the Taiwanese delegation with the Virgin Islands delegation in at the Select USA 2022.
Awesome. So that's a great opportunity, Anthony. And I did have an opportunity to participate in several Select USA. And for some reason, I always thought that you were involved in some way when I was covering the Virgin Islands. But Select USA is definitely a great opportunity for economic development for all of the countries, but more importantly, for the countries to actually have conversations with each other, to see what some of the best practices are in each of our countries, to talk about barriers and how we can work together in partnership together. So I'm glad you're a part of that, and looking forward to hearing a little more about how that conference is going, and then some of the takeaways from the conference. I think it's really important. Carolyn, I see you join us.
I am great. How are you, Terry? It's always an honor to be in your presence, even though it's only virtually.
Same here. Same here. I'm radiating off of you. And for those of us that those of you that have just joined us, we are this is the Coaxum Report, and you can find us on Amazon, Fire TV, Android, Apple, Roku. It's a part of our TV network. It's Tempo is one of our partners, and it is truly a pleasure to have both of you on today as co-hosts.
And let's not forget radio,
Oh yeah,
WSPX Radio, WSPX Bloomberg. Let's not forget WS Bloomberg Radio.
WSPX, and also Terry, I don't know if you've done it, if you've downloaded the RTV app off of
That's right.
Google Play or off of the App Store. So I had my husband do it the other day. I said, can I see your phone? I took him to the App Store, downloaded our TV network, and then pulled up an episode where we had done a newsmaker event. And I was on it, and he was like, "Oh, look at you!" Like, yeah,
I absolutely have to do that. I haven't done it yet. Thank you so much for sharing that. And for all of you that are listening, I encourage you to download it as well.
Thank you. That's a good save, Carolyn. Thank you for catching that. I totally forgot about that. And so
yes, all right.
Yeah, so yeah, we are seen throughout the country, throughout the world on television, cable television with Tempo Networks. Obviously, we're on Apple TV, Android TV, Roku TV, and Fire TV as well.
Yeah.
And
we like to say Amazon Top Fire because we want you to know that.
Amazon Fire.
I love you guys.
Of course, we're on Fire, but this is Amazon Fire.
Absolutely.
We love all of it. And I will tell you, one of our and not to I'm sorry for cutting you off.
But this is great.
It's just the excitement of the three of us. This
That's
dynamic trio.
That's right.
But Tracy Hamlin, who has the Tracy Hamlin Show on the network, received a call from someone in Trinidad. And they said to her, "I'm looking at you on TV." She was like, "What?" And I'm like, yes, our TV network is everywhere you want to be.
That's right. That's right. And it's really interesting because I keep getting calls from friends. I'm like, "Oh, I saw your show." I'm like, "Really?"
Love it, love it, love it.
So it really is. It's a pleasure to have you guys on today. And Anthony was just talking a little bit about Select USA, and I know you're doing some phenomenal things with the chamber. And so if you could share, some of what you're doing, and I know Anthony was saying that you had set a few things up. The powerhouse of the DMV here.
Let me just say this. First of all, Anthony is so complimentary because anything that happens, if the sun is shining, he's like, Carolyn took care of that sunshine. Everything is a team effort in a really big way. And the DC Chamber of Commerce, this is really interesting. It is the only Chamber of Commerce attached to Washington, D.C. It is 83 years old. And I will tell you, on June the 20th, 1938, the Washington, D.C. Chamber of Commerce was actually incorporated right here in the nation's capital. And it initially, it was formed to provide services for African-American businesses. So how wonderful that we sit here all around and being able to benefit. The name was ultimately changed to the Negro Chamber of Commerce in 1946 to reflect the unique needs of Black businesses. And then in 1956, the leadership reevaluated the needs of businesses in the city and established itself as the District of Columbia Chamber of Commerce. So I've been on their board of directors since 2013. I really love the organization. Right now, we're headed up by President and CEO Angela Franco, and she is one. I know we've got a lovely Latina lady in the at the helm, and our board chair is Dr. Carolyn Rudd, who runs an amazing company for more than 30 years out of Washington, D.C. I hate to say small business because the revenues, small isn't small.
Right. So small business isn't small business because according to the SBA, a small business is less than 500 people. And I know you and I think that's a huge business, right?
So Dr. Rudd has CRP. And it's so funny because I tend to say CPR. No. She said, no. We can resuscitate you, but it's CRP Incorporated. So her business is wonderful. But anyway, she's our board chair. So this past week was a flurry of activity. The first thing they started a women in business company, if you will. Well, inside, I don't want to call it, it's not a company, but it could be a company, but it's a women in business committee. Okay. And that committee has been doing really dynamic things. So this past Thursday, it had the first female ambassador from the country of Ghana, We had
Oh,
the Honorable Ambassador Mahama was our guest speaker, and there were about 82 women in the room. It was an
wow.
amazing
Wow.
luncheon. So that just got everybody just really going. Then obviously they have other things going on, but then on Sunday they co-hosted the Select USA welcome reception, and that was held at K&L Gates. And it's so funny. Anthony was already there, and he's like, "Carolyn, where are you?" He's calling me, and I'm like, "I'm trying to find parking. I'm in the District of Columbia, right?" So he's like, Man, I got the great shot of the White House and a great shot of the monument." I'm like, "Can you just wait till I get there?" Because it was a rooftop reception in connection with the deputy mayor's office. They call it DIMPAD. You know, we love acronyms around here.
Exactly.
Also, and then obviously DC, which is wonderful, you know, and Andres Hayes, who is the director of international trade and commerce, the
Yes.
man is always dressed to the nines. He could be on any runway anywhere in the world, and there he is in this incredible suit, these white soft walkers, and then he's got on an obviously DC shirt, and people kept saying, "Open your jackets," because everybody wants one of those shirts. And then also, so those three entities, the DC Chamber, DEMPED, and obviously DC, in connection with K&L Gates, hosted that
Wow.
reception. So a great
That's
time was had.
phenomenal. It sounds like a networking event that everyone needed to be at.
It really was. It really was, truthfully. And the thing of it was that was so funny is by the time that ended, then the DC Chamber staff had to quickly go home because the next morning they had a call time with me at 6:30 in the morning to set up
Whoa.
the annual golf tournament. We had 22
Which
courses.
I sucked.
No, okay,
Which I
really,
sucked.
really just let's just level set. I explained to Anthony that if he were a professional golfer, it would be okay to say, "Oh, I'm really not good at this." But if the pros are missing shots, and if
That's
they're
right.
not always, we don't have to be good. We just have to look good.
That's
The truth be told, Anthony had on his RTV network hat. He had his RTV network polo. He had
branding.
appropriate pants and shoes. He knew how to drive the cart. In my book, check.
Listen, Anthony, just give me the beer. I'll take the beer around. I'll drive the
That was
cart with the
it.
beer.
Listen, I was prepared to be humiliated only because we are the official television partner for the DC Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, that's
That
right.
was the
Plus one.
only reason I subjected myself to that embarrassment.
You know what, that is so, and that's interesting, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, just why that partnership is so wonderful for our TV network, and
Right.
why it's also so wonderful for the DC Chamber of Commerce. And really, if you wanted to be aligned with a Chamber of Commerce,
Mhm.
the first one you would want to start with would be, let's see, where in the nation's capital, and we did. So I love that. It's a good thing. We're grateful, and when we talk about some of the things that we hope to do as we continue to elevate that chamber's message, because they have a real vision around, their tagline is delivering the capital,
That's
which is
right.
a tremendous play on
That's
words
right.
because
That's right.
obviously there are stones throw from away from the capital. Only don't throw stones at the capital. Let's be clear. But, but to deliver the
But
capital,
we do have to add that part, right?
we have to add that part. So in order to
It's
do that,
exciting. It's exciting. I mean, it seems like you guys are doing so many amazing things, not just with this conference, of course, partnering, but with all that you're doing, the women's committee. I mean, that sounds
so
super
that's the
amazing.
DC Chamber of Commerce. And I tell this to anybody, you don't have to live in Washington, D.C. to be a member of the DC Chamber of Commerce. You just have to be serious about doing business.
That's right.
So
That's
that's
right.
it. And if you're wise, you want to be aligned and connected with chambers of commerce that really understand what's going on and give you access to information. And one of the things you say also well, they give you the tips, the tools, and the techniques. That's you. That's the
That's
Terry
right.
Coaxum teas.
That's
So they'll
exactly.
help you understand if there's something. They push out so much great information. So I'm always excited when I can help people realize, no, you want to join. If you want to join a chamber, that's really going to make a difference in your business and in, in your community, you want the DC Chamber of Commerce.
That's right. And I always encourage chambers too. The information is there. They're always bringing in great speakers, and then just aligning you with other business. So the biggest thing, and I like to talk about this on the show, I'm always talking about solutions, right? And so if you are having a challenge, joining a chamber like the DC Chamber would be an awesome opportunity for you to share that challenge with other business, and you'll be so surprised. You're not an island. They're experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing, and they found a way to get around it or to get through it, right? And so that's why chambers are important. I also encourage all my business, if they're not the economic development corporations, or another great opportunity here in New York, we have the small business development centers, and we also have SBS, which is our small business in New York City, and they have chambers and they have workshops and committees and stuff for small business to come together. And now you can do it virtually. So you can do it anywhere in the world. So if I join the DC Chamber now, I have all this wonderful access online.
You have incredible access online, and you're going to be plugged into community that's going to really, because you have so much information inside this whole situation that you're able to share. And it's so much easier to go further when you're aligned with the right types of partners and in the right community. So
that's right. That's why my business is called Coaxum Connects, connecting you, because relationships matter.
That's right.
You know what? I'm going to start writing down all of your special.
So we need to, if I may, Terry, take the liberty of taking us into.
Yeah, let's go back to Taiwan. Yeah.
Can we take commercials on this show?
So what happened, Anthony?
We're breaking all the rules today. We're breaking the rules. Right?
I actually looked at that clock and started to say.
So anyway, when we come back from the break, all the folks that are watching this live around the world and listening to this program, the relationship between the U.S. Virgin Islands and Taiwan is a special one.
That's right.
And I'm honored to serve in the capacity of the Special Economic Envoy to Taiwan and the Asia-Pacific region. And we're going to address an important issue. We're going to talk about the U.S.-led Indo-Pacific economic framework, which Taiwan needs to be at the table, needs to be an active participant. And when we come back, we'll have a discussion around that and as to why they need to be included in that. And here it is, when people don't understand the breadth or the depth of the relationship between a U.S. territory, which is a part of the United States, understanding that Taiwan is the United States' 9th largest trade partner. The role and the relationship between Taiwan and the U.S. in the Indo-Pacific region is critical. And so when we come back and we have this conversation as to why we need to do our part, there's strong bipartisan support for Taiwan to be, if you will, I don't want to use the word independent because it's gaslighting, if you will, but why Taiwan has been self-ruled for so many years, right? And have been running their economy, their own military, own currency. Yeah. And so when we come back, we'll talk about that intertwined, that relationship between the United States and, of course, the role that we are playing at our TV. We control television, radio, digital, and we're doing our part to be able to educate our people to understand what that relationship is about, because it benefits everybody on both sides. This is the Marketplace, the Coaxum Report. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
This is the Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise Pellegrini. Watch for some of those hotter housing markets to cool off most as mortgage rates rise, especially if the job markets in those areas also slow. Mike Fratantoni is chief economist at the Mortgage Bankers Association.
So the Mountain West, which has been the recipient of a lot of inbound population moves, has been the strongest part of the country. And those areas that are either seeing population outflow or not as robust job markets, that's where you saw home prices increasing, but not as rapidly. And the same thing's going to happen now, but we've just reset the whole scale, right? So now if nationally home prices are going to be growing at 2 or 3%, you're going to see some of those weaker markets, those are going to be, break even or even some small declines in some cases.
Meantime, Redfin says builders have been cutting prices in some Texas, Arizona, and Florida metros. And that's the Bloomberg Real Estate Report. I'm Denise.
Chairman of Taiwan Caixin Media, Xie Jinhe, posted on Facebook on May 23rd his interpretation of Taiwan's absence from the first round of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF. The framework has 13 members, including the US, Australia, Brunei, India, Indonesia, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Xie said that the United States might not want to stimulate the Chinese regime too much, but on the other hand, Taiwan might be thinking about the future world economy and how to choose the right side. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said on May 22nd that Taiwan would not be part of the launch of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. However, he added that the U.S. seeks to deepen its economic partnership with Taiwan. He also reiterated that the U.S. hopes for peace across the Taiwan Strait and is unhappy to see a unilateral change in the status. Xie Jinhe said that in recent years, from the trade war between the United States and China to the technological war to the economic war, many small and medium-sized enterprises have shut down their production bases in China, which is evident in the decline in revenue of Taiwan's Compal, Quanta, and other companies in April. Xie pointed out that now Apple has taken the lead in stating that its new major production bases will be in Vietnam and India. Biden's first trip to Asia was to visit South Korea. Xie said that the most important thing is that South Korea has moved from Moon Jae-in's pro-communist line to Yin Shi-yue's pro-American line. Samsung had been suppressed in the past, but now it is resurrected. Biden's first stop in South Korea is Samsung, because the United States is trying to stabilize the semiconductor industry. As a result, the world's essential semiconductor settlements, from TSMC and below, are all under the U.S. camp. Economist Wu Jialong posted on Facebook on May 23rd, pointing out that the U.S. wants to promote the decoupling of manufacturing from China. Southeast Asia and India have a large enough labor force to replace China's supply chain. Wu said that the redeployment of the supply chain without China requires a process, and Taiwan is one of the crucial elements in reaching this target. He also pointed out that for the U.S. to promote the Indo-Pacific strategy, maintain peace and stability in this region, and create a rules-based international order, it needs a key factor, Taiwan. He said that the U.S. is very busy in Asia and has to consider geopolitical security and economic security. All the things it is engaged with are related to Taiwan. Without Taiwan, the U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy and IPEF would be hollowed out. So, with or without official status, Taiwan is still the top priority.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Coaxum Report. For those of you that's joining us, you can join. You can join us each week on our TV. We are powered by the I don't know where that just came from.
Our, our TV network.
We're powered by ITV Network. We're on the marketplace, and you can join us on Roku. You can join us on Amazon Fire. You can join us on Apple. And it is truly.
And now we have an app.
And now we have an app that you can download and join us as well. And it is truly a pleasure to have Anthony Weeks and Carolyn Howell on as my co-contributors today. And when we went on break, we were talking about the crucial role of Taiwan and the IPEF, right, economic framework, right. And so Anthony was telling us a little bit about his role as the envoy. And I want to talk a little bit more about it because it is really important to understand Taiwan's role, America. And when we look at economics, we're thinking about the semiconductor and the dominance of it, and how Taiwan can really play a key role in the economy if they're included. And so one of the things that I had Anthony had opportunity to read over a couple of articles, and 200 members of Congress actually signed on a letter in March. Urging the USTR and the Department of Commerce to have Taiwan participate in at least part of the Indo-Pacific economic framework. And so I want you to talk a little bit more about that and the importance of it, and so that we can have our listeners understand a little more about this relationship, but more importantly, understand why Taiwan's role is really important in this process.
Taiwan's role overall is extremely strategic. It's critical, but it's strategic on so many levels.
Strategic, okay.
You know, when you think of the debate in whether Taiwan is a country or not,
right?
Taiwan has been a self-rule. They have their own currency, their own military. Okay, they're a democratic society, and
the eighth largest, isn't it? The eighth largest democratic society, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And the fact of the matter is they have ran themselves and been self-ruled from the beginning. They were never ruled by China, ever.
Right.
Okay, but yet you have China, Beijing, making a claim that they're a rogue state, and that's where you see, if you will, the separation of why Taiwan receives so much support from the global community. Because how could you say you rule when you never ruled a country or people when they've been self-ruled from the beginning, right?
That's right.
And so you are correct. There is strong bipartisan support. I'm sure you've seen the many high-level elected officials out of Congress taking trips over to Taiwan. And on top of that, remember I said Taiwan has its own military.
That's right.
So we have been supplying Taiwan with the latest state-of-the-art military equipment, weaponry, if you will, sorry, and in order for them to defend themselves. But that technicality is the United Nations, where in the United Nations basically has chosen to identify China as that one country, and so therefore it's like, you know, counting here's, right? You can't say Taiwan is a country when clearly China is making a claim, right?
Right.
Here's what's more important. The reason why Taiwan is so important to the United States as a trade partner and the rest of the world is because if you never knew what Taiwan and the strength of Taiwan was about, I want you to think of the pandemic. Okay. Taiwan, respectively, in two areas, are giants, if you will. Okay. They are a major technological force.
Right.
A lot of the iPhones and mobile devices that you see people use around the world, guess who's manufacturing those phones?
Taiwan.
Okay. So everybody knows Apple and Samsung, right? Those are the two behemoth, right?
Yep. Yep.
Foxconn is a Taiwanese company,
Hmm.
and Foxconn manufacture all of Apple's phones.
Right.
I don't know if you know.
That's extremely important because, like you said, during the pandemic, we couldn't. We were closed off to the world, right? You were ordering your food on your phone. You were ordering your groceries on your phone. There were a lot of essential services were the only things that were open. Everything else was closed. And even my business, and this is something that's really important. Even my business that said before the pandemic they didn't need the technology. They didn't feel like they needed the technology, understood the importance of it, understood why they needed to have a website, understood why they needed to be able to have a pay service. And all of this, all of the technology, the semiconductors, all of that we call them the chips, right? They go into these devices. This is important for us to understand why Taiwan is important. This is extremely important. And we didn't have that chip, we wouldn't have the technology that we have.
Exactly. And speaking of chips, when you think of the dominance and why, from an economic security standpoint, why Taiwan is so important.
That's right.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Taiwan represent 90% of the globe output when it comes to semiconductors and chips.
90%?
90.
Wow.
You heard right. 90% output. This is how huge of a role Taiwan plays. Okay, I lead a delegation prior to the pandemic. I lead a delegation of public and private sector industries from the Virgin Islands, and we attend the Smart City Summit. And the reason for that is because when you think of smart city infrastructure, when you think of the future, when you look at, remember that cartoon, The Jetsons?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know how futuristic that was?
Right.
Okay. So
not so futuristic anymore.
Exactly. So when you start talking about computers in cars and computers in all kinds of appliances, television, computers in just about anything.
Vacuum cleaner, right? Okay. Your vacuum cleaner is moving by itself.
Those machines cannot operate without the chip, the microchip.
That's
and
right.
The microchip, okay, is literally produced, when we say 90%, by a little island. And I'm saying little, there's 23 million people, but the little island of Taiwan, they're responsible for 90% of the economic output of the semiconductor chip in the world.
That's huge. That puts things into perspective and the importance of understanding, why the United States would be wise to move economically to give in Taiwan's crucial role.
And why China is trying to make this claim that they're part of China, because remember, during the pandemic, what was the two major disruptive force? Well, not only disruptive, but what was the two major force? Technology and shipping.
That's right.
Right?
Technology and shipping.
China is the world's manufacturer. We created China. The West created China. Right. I want you to think about this for a second.
I know.
We as a capitalistic society, we dominate the world capital market. I'm talking United States. 50% of the world's capital market is dominated by us.
That's
okay.
Right.
We made a strategic decision that we were going to no longer produce anything.
That's
we
right.
just really wanted to provide the capital for a lot of what you see in terms of industries that you see today.
That's
okay.
Right.
And so clearly we decided, okay, we're a strong union country, right? And so therefore we started, corporations decided, well, a way around that, well, they'll start outsourcing jobs.
That's right.
Overseas.
That's
and
right.
all of the manufacturing jobs went to China, right? There are other places, but China was the
main,
right,
the main hub.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so China now, literally during the pandemic, literally had the world literally at their knees, because we, the strongest, the most powerful economy in the world, we were subject
That's right.
to what was happening in China. So when you heard the word decoupling, we now need to bring the supply chain closer back this way, because for years we relinquished the supply chain
That's right.
overseas to China. So
Right.
we find ourselves in a pickle now, right?
Yeah, and essential things that we thought could be shipped, things like tissue and Lysol and Clorox, like all of these things that we just automatically thought we could just go get off of a shelf. The shelves were empty. The crates were at the ports or couldn't get to the port.
And imagine now, so China dominates manufacturing.
That's right.
Can you imagine now them controlling technology?
Right.
If now when you're wondering why they're holding on so tight to Taiwan, when you think of the largest investor in China, in mainland China, the largest investor in mainland China, private sector investor, are the Taiwanese.
I didn't know that.
Think about that.
Yeah.
The largest private sector investor in China are the Taiwanese. Their economy is so
intertwined,
for years, intertwined and intermingle, and and so what you see has happened over the years is a decoupling of that dependency on that marketplace, if you will.
Right.
And so when we talk about why we need to support Taiwan militarily, right? It's because if China controls all the ports throughout Asia,
right,
we're now in a quandary, because they're now going to dictate the flow of shipment and freight coming in and out the Asian Pacific region to the west from the east.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
So you follow how things in terms of how the economic security for the United States and the rest of the West is so important. And if you don't believe me, look at what's happening in Russia. Russia's invasion of Ukraine from a oil and gas perspective. Okay,
that's right.
Germany, I should say, sorry, Europe, rely on Russia to supply 40% of their oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
40%.
Right.
And so now you're in this situation now, and you're literally being held hostage.
That's right.
Okay. We now see inflation. We now see all these different things that are taking place. So when we talk about technology and how important Taiwan is, they're a democratic society, but from a technological standpoint, we as a country cannot afford for Taiwan to fall victim to
right.
how China is, bullying themselves around.
Right.
The other factor is Taiwan's shipping company is called Evergreen. Mm-hmm. Evergreen is one of the world's largest shipping companies. Matter of fact, Taiwan holds the crown in terms of the largest shipping container in the world are owned by Taiwan.
Really?
Yes. Okay. Oh. And so here is how Little St. Croix, Virgin Islands, can do our part. When the U.S. bought the U.S. Virgin Islands from Denmark in 1917, bought it for its strategic oceanic positioning.
Mm-hmm. Back to strategy again. I love this. You full circle, back to strategy. Yep.
Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, where they sit within the archipelago, are positioned in some of the deepest waters in the world.
That's right.
27,000 feet, okay, of depth.
Right.
And the reason why the U.S. purchased the Virgin Islands from Denmark was to prevent the German U-boats from penetrating the Americas. And so clearly, if Taiwan now is under subjugation of the Chinese now, that strategic position geographically of Taiwan and all the other Southeast Asian countries becomes weakened. They're now a break in the chain. And so China is trying to control all ports, and they're making claims to all of the territories within the South China Sea.
Wow.
What we're doing in our proposal to now bring the supply chain closer back to the West, St. Croix has the potential to be the next Singapore.
Okay.
In this region. Okay. We created we introduced, and the governor, obviously, working closely with the Virgin Islands government, Governor Bryan, we are proposing to build a major shipyard that would be responsible for literally maintaining and repairing 14,000 ships that sail through the Americas every year.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
St. Croix now it will now be strategically positioned like it did back in 1917 to now have a major infrastructure to help with capacity to maintain and repair these ships.
Oh, that's awesome.
We are also advocate. We're also are the proponents to create a major transshipment port in St. Croix. So you have transshipment and you have ship repair and maintenance.
And what I hear you saying is self-sufficient, economic growth, economic development, jobs, stability, independence. That's what I hear.
Exactly. And so when you hear me talk about why the U.S. Virgin Islands Taiwan relationship is so important as an extension to the U.S. multilateral bilateral agreement, okay, Taiwan is the 9th largest trade partner for America.
That's right.
But as I talked to you, in the technology space, they're so critical. They are currently building a $12 billion semiconductor chip plant in Arizona. A plant.
Arizona?
$12 billion. TSMC, Taiwan Semi Manufacturing Corporation, they are building a $12 billion manufacturing plant to be able to help mitigate the shortage or the additional capacity needed for the manufacturing of chips throughout the world.
Wow.
And to make sure that our economy is not held hostage to
you
places.
said that's going to be in Arizona?
I'm sorry?
Where's the location?
I do know, but I don't remember what location it is. If it's not, it's on the tip of my tongue. I have to get back to you on that.
Okay, because I thought you said Arizona in the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah. So the opportunity abounds, is enormous.
That's right.
For not only for the United States to preserve and protect its economic might, strength, and power, okay, globally. They cannot do it without protecting the role and the strategic and critical role that Taiwan plays with the U.S. economy globally.
That's right.
And regionally.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it hits home for me. I remember when I was working up in Buffalo, there was a small business in Buffalo that created a tablet, and they were telling me how hard it was to get these chips, right? And so one of the important things, and that's when I found out that all of this stuff, all of the the technology, the innovation that we're talking about, that Taiwan is responsible for, came from Taiwan. Because I had no idea in the beginning. I was like, made in the U.S., right? And they were like, no, this is being, And so I think it's really important for my listeners and any of the small businesses to understand the importance and the critical role of Taiwan.
And consumer, forget business. Consumer experience.
Because we can't even live without these little cell phones. Like, these cell phones are our life. We have everything in it. And so if the technology doesn't exist, if it goes dark, then we have a problem with everything. From banking to
that's a good point. That's a good point, Terry. Because if people didn't understand how serious this is, look at all the little electronic devices and technology that people use every day in the United States.
That's right.
Taiwan plays a role literally in just about every one of those innovative technology that you see today. Right. And if you didn't know anything about China and what role they play, every time you turn on your TV, you start your car, you put
it again. I'm going to go back to something as simple as your little vacuum cleaner, right? That's going around and dusting.
Computer, your phone, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
all of those things. It's really important for consumers to understand that this innovation and this technology comes from Taiwan, number one, but the importance and critical role they play and why it's important for the United States to come
and when I spoke to the governor, and when I spoke to Governor Albert Bryan, I said, Governor, here is why you need to get behind this. This is why this is so important. Mm-hmm. When we talk about the challenges that we're having in terms of the refinery, right? It's we can no longer afford to rely on an industry that is on a decline. You cannot. Okay, we need new industries. And I said, Governor, the blue economy or the ocean economy is the opportunity going forward for the U.S. Virgin Islands, but particularly the island of St. Croix, building a strong, viable shipping industry where the government needs to make that investment on all levels, legislatively, policy, regulatory, training of workforce development, educate, you name it. Okay, that is the future of St. Croix in terms of its ability to build infrastructure so we are able to be a major player in the region, in the Americas.
That's right.
Help with the movement of goods, bringing the supply chain closer back to America and the Americas. Okay, because right now we're dependent on Asia to bring what we need into this country, and St. Croix, by making that investment and developing and building that shipyard and transshipment port, is we become a serious force in the region to be able to facilitate the process.
Wow, this is phenomenal. I mean, I when we started the show, I had no idea how deep, this process is, and how we need to understand that our technology is dependent on Taiwan, and why it's important that the United States is including them in this framework, right? And then, more importantly, understanding the Virgin Islands.
They're not. So right now, so people understand, there are 13 countries. Right?
Oh yeah,
there were 12. Okay,
there
was Australia, Brunei, India, Indonesia, Japan, Republic of Korea, Malaysia, New Zealand, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Fuji just became the 13th.
Okay,
This was announced. The U.S.-led Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. It was announced May 23rd of 2022.
That's right.
Fuji is the latest country to be part of it, the 13th country. And so Taiwan is basically saying, listen, if we are playing such a critical role, okay, there is no ifs, ands, or but about this. Okay, we need to be part of that Indo-Pacific Economic Framework that is expanding and including new countries being part of that new, if you will, pact.
Right. And again, that's why I was saying it's really important for them to be, especially now, understanding the critical role that they play in our economy, the critical role that they play in our innovation and our technology. So this is an amazing show, Anthony. I want to thank you so much for really sharing with us your role as an envoy, and just breaking down for the listeners why it's important for us to keep an eye on this, and more importantly, for us to, not just alert, but encourage our legislators, to make sure that.
With Select USA, it's a federally sponsored summit.
Yes.
That brings all the states and territory together.
Yes.
To talk about foreign direct investment.
That's right.
Taiwan has consistently been, if not the largest, one of the largest delegation every year at the Select USA. Right. They have 200 people flew in from Taiwan.
Wow.
200 to be part of the 2022. And let me end with this note so you understand why this is so important on both sides, on the US and on the Taiwanese side, and why we need to be very supportive of Taiwan with this.
That's right.
US foreign direct investment in the region totaled more than $969 billion in 2020.
With a B, billion?
That's right. 969. The U.S. foreign direct investment throughout the region, okay? It's in the Indo-Pacific region is $969 billion in 2020, and has nearly doubled in the last decade.
Wow.
It says here, this is an announcement from the White House, and we are leading the exporter of services to the region, helping fuel regional growth. Trade with the Indo-Pacific supports more than 3 million American jobs and is the source of nearly $900 billion in foreign direct investment in the United States as well. Wow. With 60% of the world's population, the Indo-Pacific is projected to be the largest contributor to the global growth over the next 30 years. So you see what it says to state?
Yeah, it's important. It's really important. Those numbers are, they're astounding. Like you're like, what? So, we're gonna end on this note, Anthony. But I think that I want to bring you back and to really tell us how the Select USA wrapped up, and continue to keep us abreast, because we're going to be paying attention now, especially knowing that we're so connected with
Right.
innovation and technology, and all of the gadgets that we're using is coming from the chips and the semiconductor system. It's coming from Taiwan, and so it's important for my consumers, not just my business owners, to understand why Taiwan has to be at the table. There is no ifs, ands, and buts about it. They have to be at the table. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. And if there's one other thing that you want to leave with the listeners.
Yeah, and just to respond to your question in terms of how it ended, in terms of the closeout of the 2022 Select USA. So I had the agency for the Virgin Islands, the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, we had a huge exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
It has been the largest presence of the United States Virgin Islands this year at Select USA 2022. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the opportunity to meet the senior international trade and specialist for the U.S. Department of Commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we discussed is going forward, they're going to now help the Virgin Islands organize Taiwanese companies to come in to the Virgin Islands.
Nice.
Okay, and afford us the opportunities to kind of connect with the Taiwanese companies as well. This is the first time, because I typically have been working with the Taiwanese directly, right?
Right.
What the takeaway from me attending this year's Select USA, I met the people in charge over at the U.S. Department of Commerce.
That's right.
And so they're going to help strengthen the trade delegation for the Virgin Islands.
That's huge.
On both sides.
That's huge.
Where they're going to bring Taiwanese companies to the Virgin Islands, and where they're going to take us also. We're going to be part of the U.S. Department of Commerce delegation as well. And so that's what's so different.
That's huge. That's what's up. And this is why we attend these conferences, to get stuff done, right? And so that's really huge. So thank you so much for sharing.
I want to thank the EDA. I want to thank Wayne Biggs and his staff, and Chanel Peterson, for helping to allow me to participate this year as the special economic envoy to Taiwan and the Asia Pacific region for the Virgin Islands government. And so I'm really thankful for playing my role this year.
Awesome. So this has been a great show. Big shout out to the EDA. Big shout out to Department of Commerce, and we're looking forward to bigger and better things, because now you have the relationships in place to make this happen. And so I look forward to talking more about the Virgin Islands and what they're doing and how they're doing it in this blue economy. And I thank you so much for joining the Coaxum Report. And for those of you that are just joining us, you can join us again on Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Roku, WXTX Bloomberg, and this is our TV network. Make sure you're downloading the app so you can get the shows in the future. And again, I want to thank you so much, Anthony Weeks and Carolyn Howell, for being a part of the Coaxum Report, connecting you because relationships matter. All right, Carolyn, thank you so much. I'll see you guys again on Wednesday at 2:30. Catch us again on the Coaxum Report. Have a good one.
Time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. And I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to achieving mermaid status. Canadians just love being outdoorsy. We live for adventure, so we love anything hiking, being on the water, diving, snorkeling, and St. John has it all.
It's like some spirit is protecting the island and keeping them raw. The Makujumbi watches over the island. From up there, they keep the evil spirits away. The nightlife in St. Thomas is absolutely amazing. There's always something going on. Everyone comes together to dance and catch a vibe. We're always celebrating. We celebrate freedom, culture, the food, the smell, the music. It's always a celebration. The people here are probably the most priceless thing because they keep the culture going. There's so many different influences on these islands. Food from all kinds of countries coming together in new dishes. All of us came from somewhere, but all of we call this home. The VI is a new melting pot. This is where the past and the future comes together.